Hello everyone, and welcome to the South Miami Senior High Magnet School for the Arts photography program. My name is Mr. Lopez and I drive the boat here in the Magnet Photography program at our school. Today we're going to go on an adventure into the darkroom. Alright, so we're here in the darkroom at South Miami Senior High. Today we're going to be doing some prints from 35mm black and white film. This film has already been developed using our developing chemicals. Every time that you develop something in the darkroom, you need to develop it, which is a chemical that actually removes some of the particles that were not hardened when it was exposed to light. And then you need to stop it, so the developer and then the stop chemical stops the developer from overdeveloping the film, and then after that you fix it and that hardens all of the grains that are inside of the film, and then your film is ready to go. Okay, so in this part of our video, I'm going to be talking about Adobe Lightroom. It's a image adjustment based photography program that works with digital imagery. Right now what we're looking at is a photograph that was taken by a student in our photography studio. We have backdrops, we have all kinds of lighting and cellophanes to play around with directional lighting and colors and setting different moods with props from our prop collection and costumes. So in Adobe Lightroom, you can manipulate several different sliders. For example, the tint, the hue, the saturation. They're broken down in categories, as you're seeing as I'm clicking around. What I love about Lightroom is it has a little bit more than you would expect from maybe an iPhone or an Instagram editing. It gives you a little bit more control on how to separate the colors and how you can manipulate the different aspects of the photo. Now, it's not Adobe Photoshop, so it doesn't have layers, which is a whole other conversation. But in Lightroom, what I love about it as well is it saves everything that you do, and you can always go back and readjust it later, or you could even reset the photo all the way back to how it was when you first opened it. So in Lightroom, in order to save the picture, you actually have to export it and tell Lightroom where you want it to go. So until you do that, Adobe Lightroom just keeps everything parked, and you can continue to edit it in any way that you choose without destroying the original picture. Okay, so that's one of the advantages of Lightroom. So as you can see here, I'm playing around a lot with different adjustments. I'm adding a little bit more noise. This is kind of a Victorian vintage kind of photograph, so I'm trying to enhance that look. So right there we have the the before and after of what I was able to do with just a simple adjustment of some of the sliders in Lightroom. I think we have a pretty good picture. Just playing around with the cool lighting on her shoulder and the warm lighting that is across the main subject's features. Now I'm just playing around with composition, thinking of rule of thirds, how I might crop it just to enhance my focal point. Focal point could either be the flower or the face. Most times when you photograph a portrait, the focal point is the subject's face and their expression. I'm trying to see how much I can get away with cropping until I lose the integrity of the photograph. So I think I'm going to leave it around there. If you notice, while we're cropping, we have a couple of third dividing lines that kind of guide where it is that the subject matter's focal point is going to be landing when we crop it. Okay, so this is Adobe Lightroom. Gives you a lot of options, and it's fairly intuitive and easy to learn and easy to use. And one of the best things is that you're able to go back and readjust anything later, and you can always export different versions of the same photograph if you so choose. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and edit another picture here in Adobe Lightroom. What you're seeing right now are the different display modes for the image library. Once you have an image that you want to edit, you click on it, you could double click on it, you could expand the view so that you see it larger. And what I'm doing right now is just panning through the picture using the zoom tool. And as you see here, there's a little film strip on the bottom that you could either toggle on or toggle off. So we're going to go ahead and drop down some of these sliders. For this picture, I'm going to use different sets of sliders, just playing around with different image editing capabilities of Lightroom. So what I like about this picture is the dappled light, which is the light that's coming through and falling on the floor and the chairs from the trees and vines above. I also like the fact that the chair in the background is it's a little further away, so what I'm doing right now is actually skewing the picture to dramatize that effect where the smaller chair is further away from us, just to make it more dynamic. I'm going to go ahead and crop this, deciding on my composition and removing the white background that was created once I skew the picture into perspective. Just going to play around with the crop a little bit more, and there we have our new crop composition. I also am going to play around with some of the highlights and shadows. I want this picture to actually look like a different time of day. This was taken under big blue sky in the middle of the day, and I'm going to try playing around with some of the sliders so that the temperature of the picture actually makes it look more like the golden hour of photography, or a little bit closer to the sunset or later in the afternoon. So I'm bringing out some of the shadows, bringing out more detail in the shadows, and also shifting the temperature of the picture over to a right. So there's the before and the after. I'm pretty happy with how it came out. Nothing too crazy when it comes to Lightroom. You just kind of play around with the sliders, or you go in and you have a very specific idea of what you want to do, and then you just go about doing it. And again, the great thing about Lightroom is it protects your pictures until you export them and you save them somewhere else. And you could always go back in and adjust them or reset it to the original picture.